I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take.
Hi, and welcome back to the Conscious Day Trader. I am Yanis, and today we're going to break another pound USD dollar trade. Today was a very tricky day for me. I got my bias wrong. I managed my trade to get out for $446. So if we jump onto the MT5, we'll quickly have a look on the profits of the day. 446. 509 was the total profits, but after commissions, quite a few trades, I think 14 trades that I had to manage through this. I was long, but as soon as I here, I was in profit for, I believe, $400, and I wanted to get into my $500, and that was the top. I could have easily closed this trade for a win, and that's happened twice now. So I need to be careful with when I get my bias wrong to make sure that I'm getting out of the trades, because then I had to sit all afternoon to get the same profits. So yes, something to take out of this trade. My bias was definitely wrong. However, it did come back into long. The bias should be for the day short. If you were short, you had a very easy day of trading as a continuation. And we're going to see into that. These are if you look at the 1 hour, the pound dollar has been dropping heavily, and that would have been the better option. I'll show you why I was long and potentially what caught me out, and you might learn from that. With bias, because I think it's one of the hardest things to do. However, like you can see, even if you get your bias wrong, you can get out of with profits. Yes, a little bit more stressful, and you don't want to be trading until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. What is it? 5 o'clock? Yeah, 6 o'clock here, 5 UK. But it happens. Have a beer. Come back tomorrow, and hopefully you have a better bias day. But that being said, let's look into the charts. These are some previous entries. Right, so let's go into the USD, the index. And what did we see? Now, it's easy to say, well, obviously this was a short day when you see the results. But when you're doing it live and trying to create bias, that's the hard bit. And what we're going to see here is a gap that has been working on the dollar index, and it did work again. So seeing that as a plan to go into the gap, okay, that would have been a strong dollar, which would be for me to sell. However, I didn't see this because my chart was like this. And that is, on the 15 minute, I think I was. No, I was probably on the lower. And one lesson here. Look at the higher time frame. Don't do what I've done. I was looking at the pound dollar, did all my analysis on the pound dollar, and stayed on this chart. And I was in the trade just because I was zoomed in. The problem with this is if I zoom in like this, and then I jump onto the pound dollar, it jumps onto the 1 minute. So you're not seeing the previous historical data. So when you're so focused onto the pound dollar, and that's something I'm going to definitely be introducing into my trade, and I think you all should do it as well, because it would make sure you don't make my mistake. Make sure you're doing bias on both together, and you get your analysis. Because I would, if I had gone back to the dollar index, and I was like this, and I had just zoomed out a little bit, I would have seen the gap here, and I would have been short, because I would have at least come up to see this gap, and then traded the pound dollar short. However, since I saw it late, I was in the trade, and what my idea was that, okay, I'm going to get into some heat. This is going to be the dollar index filling this wide gap, or price gap, not fair value gap, and then it's going to continue lower. And that was the reason that a weak dollar would give me a strong pound. That gave me one, and this was around the open of the London session, so it was playing out quite nicely. However, the dollar index had different plans. It went exactly to broke the previous daily high, took out buy side liquidity from this area here above these highs, this high, and that's the area where it topped out. So I had to sit through that before the dollar came down. And then we had the afternoon, which the dollar 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock news pushed the dollar even higher, and then sell off after the news. So it took a while after the news at 2:30 for the pound to go long. So we did have some heat, and I'll show you how close I was to be stopped out. This was the closest I've been in the 1 month and 4 days that I've been doing this in ICT. If we jump onto our trade sync, yes, 14 days. So 2 days last week, 2 days this week, we're running on 1,896 after commission. This was the big month that we had, the 10,800 month. So this was the closest to being a red day, and it would have been a 2K loss. So all the profits of the 4 days would have been taken out. Let's go back to our charts, and I'm just going to show you that because people love to ask me about stops. I feel like people want me to fail. And that was my area, the 19,600. Let's see how close we went. I mean, that it doesn't get closer than that 1.1 pip. Now the spreads didn't take me out, which is quite interesting. I thought I thought I was going to be taken out for the loss, but I didn't. And it's almost like equal lows here. That was the price when algorithmic trading took over, and they were like, that's going to be the low of the session, and pushed up. And that was the area where I was going to go out. We're going to go back to the dollar index just to finish our analysis that we were talking about. So after we got into the liquidity, this was an area where I wanted the pound dollar. Now I was in the trade. I needed to manage it. So let's see how I managed the trade. My first entry was up here. I would have finished with a really good trade, and like we said, the dollar index filled the gap. Soon as it filled the gap, went into the buy side liquidity, and then sold off, which would have given me a nice opportunity to long the pound dollar. And as you can see, I got entry there, entry there, entry there. Now this came all the way down here. I thought it's going to stop on 1.2000 and then come up. It did that extra flash there, seek for liquidity. Now on the Fibonacci levels, if we take it onto the 1 hour, the 12000 and below we had the 176. That is the area where the price stopped. And look how close it went to my stop. I didn't get stopped out, and then it went out. Now, if it had happened and it stopped me out, it was almost like I kind of would have been happy in a way, because my bias was wrong. Obviously I wouldn't be happy for the loss. I'm super happy that I made money in $446 in a day. Just for two reasons. I thought that would have been a good lesson for me, and I definitely need to take this lesson today. One, I didn't take my profits, even though I knew that my bias was wrong, and I actually found an opportunity to make the $400 at the time, and I didn't close the trade because I wanted to meet my $500 of the day. Now that $100 that I want to get extra would have cost me $2,000. And that is the key point, and this is learning, right? We're not going to get it right from the phone from the first time. I'm definitely still learning, and these are opportunities for me to get better. So why did I not close that? Well, one, because I thought that was the top after the gap we saw on the if we go back into the dollar index. After this gap, I thought that this is going to fade back into equilibrium, because it took out gap here, buy side liquidity here, and then it would be coming down. And as you can see on the 5 minute, I was monitoring both of these together, and you can see on the 5 minute, these are opportunities where the dollar was coming down, filled the fair value gap on the 5 minute there, filled that fair value gap on the 5 minute there. So I had a strong indication that this is going to be broke the swing low here, come back up, fill the gaps, come down. But that wasn't the case. And as we discussed, this was my opportunity to get out. This I was $400 in profit. And also this was at 9:20, getting close into the end of the London session. So we normally know about those Judas moves. I should have been a bit more aware of what's going on the higher time frames and being on the short side. However, I didn't close that trade. What should I have done? Okay, so I was here. I had managed my trades and I was in profit up to this. I killed that one. I killed that trade when it came into profit. So I had positions from these fair value gaps here. So that broke up and I had a fair value gap here, long position, in to trade it into these tops here, which would have been a size of 31 pips. Amazing trade. Quite clean. Now, the only thing I had to deal with was this here. If I take the ruler again, from this tier to here, 8 pips. So that was something like, I can't remember now, like $30 or something I had to close and I would have made a profit. But I wanted that to come all the way top to equilibrium, which would have paid me the $500 and I would have killed this trade as well. And then it came down. What did I do when it came down? I was like, great, since it's coming down and now I've only got this position up here and it's 8 pips, I'm going to add into this fair value gap here. And let's get the shadow to look cool, the ghost feed, to get into that gap here for the price to come back up here. And the same again, when the price came down here, I got another fill there to get to there. And when it filled that bottom there, I did one more trade to there. That was the plan. Now I had to sit in, actually I had 2 positions. So this position and this position, so total 3 positions came down. And I wanted to trade this back up so I can get, as soon as this broke the 1, 2, I knew something was wrong. It's not going to go my way, especially because there was no impulsive candle after the fair value gaps to the going higher. So then I was totally in managed control. I needed to manage the trade out. So I'm in this difficult scenario, right? So I've got this trade from this fair value gap here and this trade from this fair value gap here going low. So when the price came down and that came back up here, I killed that trade here, damage control, came back down. And this is where I was in a lot of heat. And I would have killed it if it went below the 1,600. It didn't. It had this break. And then I got in with 2 positions in that fair value gap there. So I had 2 positions and that's what paid the trade out. Am I happy about this trade? Absolutely not. Is my analysis... was my bias analysis good? No. Was my management trade was okay? I would have killed it. So I just want to share this video as well because it's not always amazing. Like Yanis is doing amazing and look at all these green days. There are difficult days and this is one. And yes, I based on my sort of round number there. And in reality, I probably should have dropped my stop a bit below the round number in case that number was targeted. But we got out of it. And like we said, we are still having a green month. We're running on $1,896. And I was going to make a video of this tomorrow. But I think it's really important to discuss a few things. One is that you're not going to always have good days. And the key thing is how are you going to deal with those good days? Because I am not happy with today's trade. You see a profit, but I'm not happy. My analysis was I need to reflect on it and see what was wrong. Was it the lack of sleep? Was it the I don't know, we're moving to Bali, so we're doing a lot of organization in a couple of weeks, so I need to look at what external influences were, how I missed the bias of being short, because I think on a clear mind I would have seen it. Funny enough, we were discussing this in the Scruffy Squad whilst I was creating my bias, but I hate taking information from others people, so I was kind of blurring out what was discussed just because I always want to have my own bias, and I'm happy that this worked like this because now I can go back and analyze it. Not my usual video, sorry, it's a bit of a monologue, but not the best day of trading. Yes, you see that green candle. My stops were very close to being hit, and what we're going to do is we're going to leave it there. I hope you like and subscribe this video and you still watch my videos tomorrow. And when we have hopefully an easier day. I want an easier day tomorrow. Let's try and do that. So I'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Run it. I can't take no loss.